Available inventory of homes for sale in the U.S. rose quickly again this week, even during the holiday week. Maybe that's partially due to the holiday falling on Monday rather than Thursday or Friday, but I suspect it has more to do with sellers watching housing markets change quickly and rushing ahead to be ahead of that curve. So inventory continues to grow pretty substantially each week. It's tricky to communicate about this market right now. The headline of the last couple months, of course, has been this abrupt change from record low inventory to a rapidly normalizing market. I have people reaching out to me telling me I'm being too alarmist. Much of this change is normal, and we still have far fewer homes on the market almost everywhere in the country. These tight inventory conditions still indicate a market where sellers generally have pricing power. On the other hand, the shift is real, it is pronounced, and sellers have significantly less power than they did even like 6 weeks ago. We have a rapidly changing market. It's not catastrophically bad, but it is very, very different than it has been recently. And that's the needle we're trying to thread with this communication each week. There's no evidence that we'll have excess inventory on the market anytime soon. There's no evidence of forced selling, but there is a new rush, and you can see sellers trying to get out before the market cools faster. So let's look at the data. Each week, Altos Research tracks every home for sale in the country. We analyze all the pricing, the supply and demand, all the changes in that data, and we make it available to you before you see it in the traditional channels. If you aren't using Altos reports with your clients, your buyers and sellers, now might be the time to step up. Go to altosresearch.com and book a free consult with our team, because everyone is worried about what's happening right now. They need you to help them see clearly. I'm Mike Simonsen. I'm the CEO of Altos Research, and here's what we're looking at for the data for the week of July 11, 2022. The median price of homes on the market ticked down 1% this week to $450,000. Prices have likely peaked for the year, and it might be 2 years before we see this record high price again. We don't expect measurable home price gains for the U.S. for next year. One way to think about home price appreciation for next year is to use the year-over-year inventory changes right now, since we have 31% more homes on the market now than we did last year at this time when we were at record lows. You can see how that supply and demand ratio is unlikely to support big home price gains from here. So expect 2023 to have no price appreciation. The median price of the new listings dropped pretty sharply this week to $405,000. Now, that's partially a function of the holiday, but it is also something worth watching. Last year was a similar size drop in the price of the new listings from $369,000 to $350,000 this week. That's the light colored line here. We will watch this light colored line in the next week also, because if we were to have another big adjustment down, like that would be a real signal for where these new listings, sellers coming to market now, are adjusting for a new normal of lighter demand. So keep your eyes on the light colored line here for next week as well. Inventory, meanwhile, gained 3.25% this holiday week. So we now have 491,000 single-family homes on the market unsold. Available inventory is, like I said, 31% higher than last year at this time, when we only had 373,000 homes on the market. Active inventory is still only half of what it was in even 2019. So that's why it's hard to forecast like catastrophe for the U.S. home prices. There are always people who need to buy homes, and there's still simply not that much for sale. On the other hand, inventory is usually flat or even down, fewer, over the July 4th holiday week. And this week also typically marks the inflection point in the season. Inventory growth typically slows dramatically from here, most years. Using the model based on recent years, we should expect one more pretty big week of inventory gains next week when we report on Monday. Then a gradual flattening of the curve as we get into late summer. You can see, though, the steep upslope here of the inventory curve at the far right end of the chart. It's not turned the corner yet. So the number of homes available on the market for buyers is increasing pretty markedly each week. And we have at least one more week of that. Then 2-3 weeks from now will be a good time to revisit the inventory projections for the rest of the year to see if the curve has flattened or if we have like some new dynamics to include in the model. So here's one way of seeing how the changing market conditions are pulling new supply onto the market. You can see how anyone who was considering selling maybe sometime later this year is hurrying now to get listed sooner. So this is our new listings per week. These are the homes that get listed for sale each week and weren't immediate sales. That is, they stayed on the market for at least a few days. So 90,000 new listings this week, single-family homes. That's higher. You can see the dark red line is higher than recent years. And it's especially notable because the July 4th holiday week, you can see the dark red line has started the year very low. And then with few new listings and lots of those immediate sales that we talk about. But in recent weeks, the new listings are coming on the market faster than in any recent year. And see how all the previous years have that July 4th dip? That seems notable. So I've had actually people pointing out that last week there are local anecdotes that kind of corroborate this holiday listing volume in a few places around the country. So we can see that that new supply coming to the market. Again, threading the needle between the cooling data and the fact that this is actually quite normal market conditions, you can see that while inventory is ticking up, there's no flood of new listings. It's like it feels like a lot because we've had so few recently, but it's not crazy. By the way, we'll spend some time with this data in the webinar, the Altos webinar this week. Lots of the rest of the leading indicators as well. So that's Thursday, July 14th at 10 a.m. Pacific. If you're in that challenging place of needing to communicate this very difficult message with buyers and sellers, we'll spend a lot of time on what is changing and what is not changing, what's just fine. So there's a link to register for the webinar in the description below. These are limited to 1,000 attendees, and we've been having way more than that register each month. So click the link now to reserve your spot in the webinar. As the market changes, it becomes time to focus on a really cool demand indicator. This is the percent of the active market that has been relisted. These were on the market. Maybe they went into contract, then the contract fails and there were no backup offers. Then the house gets relisted back on the market. Or sometimes there were no offers at all and it gets pulled, withdrawn, and then relisted again later. At 1.7%, you can see the dark red line here for this year. Relists are at their highest level of recent years, and they're ticking up each week. So if you go into a contract for a few weeks and the deal falls through and you have no backup offers, then the house gets relisted. So that's what we're measuring here. And you can see that with 1.7% of the active market relisted, see that the dark red line is now consistently higher than previous years, and it ticked up this week. That's what we're watching. I should note that this is a pretty subtle change. So when we first started Altos Research in 2006, we could see demand for single-family homes in Silicon Valley, for example, start to change dramatically to a point where it was about 30% of the listings had been relisted. At the time, it was like a marketing tactic. If a house sat on the market for 30 days, people started to wonder what was wrong with it. So agents would pull the property from the market and then relist it to get like all the new listings marketing push. What this teaches us here is that rapidly rising relists is indeed a bearish signal. The number right now is ticking up, but it isn't like panicky. It's a notable little rise, and we're going to keep watching it each week. We still see high demand in some parts of the country. For example, where these immediate sales are still happening. These markets are the opposite of the ones that have been the most hot over the past few years. So most notably this week in the immediate sales chart is that we did not have a holiday dip in those new listings. I already showed you that in the new listings chart, but the dark line part of each bar here is the week's new listings that didn't sell immediately. And at the far right end of the chart, you can see that there's no holiday dip. As I pointed out before, we can see this new supply is probably being pulled forward by sellers who don't want to wait. Last year's holiday week had a big drop in this listing volume. Watch this next week to see if we start to turn the corner on inventory growth. And I do expect one more week of pretty big inventory growth next week in next Monday's report, and gradually declining those immediate sales, fewer and fewer each week. We will discuss the latest inventory forecast and all the leading indicators that we can tell on the supply side in the webinar this Thursday. Like I said, if you need to communicate with your buyers and sellers about what's happening, you should join us for that webinar. It's such a tricky time to communicate. We can see these opportunities for buyers finally opening. We can see that demand is still pretty good for the homes that are priced properly. If you need to have these conversations with your clients, go to altosresearch.com. Sign up now so that you can have the data in the hands of your potential buyers and sellers today. The market is moving so quickly that you need to be the voice of expertise for them right now. That's all the data we have time for today. More next week. See you on the webinar. You have to register for that, and it fills up at 1,000 attendees. So click the link below to reserve your spot. Okay. Thank you.